You are now tuned in to the Dads Who Lift podcast. Please give us a like, share, subscribe to the YouTube account. We are on www.dadswholiftofficial.com. All the podcast links are in there. We also have an apparel line that's taking pre-orders right now. We're on IG as Dads Who Lift Official handle. We're on Facebook, Dads Who Lift Podcast. We also have a Dads Who Lift fitness group on Facebook that's Dads Who Lift Official. A group of 30,000 like-minded dads that are just trying to be their best selves and staying fit. If that's something you're into, please check it out. But we do this stuff for free, guys, so please give us a like, share, 5-star review. We really appreciate your support. In this episode of the Dads Who Lift podcast, we have on Dr. Tom O'Connor, the Anabolic Doc. We go through all things about steroid use. So you guys are now tuned into the Dads Who Lift podcast. You have your host, Tyler Gaeta.
Co-host Joel Staley.
And we have on a special guest, Dr. O'Connor. Doc, say what's up.
How you guys doing? Thank you so much, guys. Dads Who Lift. Looking forward to this.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you very much for coming on, man. You have quite the following on YouTube. Like I said, pre-recording, we've been watching your videos for a while now, and I just love how honest you are about all of the steroid use. Not a lot of doctors like to talk about this stuff. Not a lot of people in general like to talk about it. But you come out and you give the pros and the cons. You really, as far as I'm concerned, you're the most honest person that I know of that talks about this type of thing.
Well, thank you very much, guys. And you guys are young guys, so I'm in my 50s. I've been lifting since 13. And that was the impetus for my life to be a physician and to, in the end up being the anabolic doc. And, physicians need to know and need to be less judgmental. And physicians need to know more about what's really going on in the world of performance-enhancing drugs, because these are just not used by NFL and Olympians anymore.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, people are going to use them regardless, right? So why not have somebody that's going to help them steer them in the right direction and do it as safely as possible?
Everything's about education, guys. Everything is very straightforward. Everything, as a primary care doctor, that's my base. I'm internal medicine, board certified. I'm academic. I'm still on staff at University of Connecticut School of Medicine. I'm still a mentor in the primary care program. And I realized 15 years ago that there was a need to really take care of men that are on androgens better, and that men were living really in the shadows, and they were living in the shadows, and they wanted to come to the primary care doctor. They wanted to, they're not looking for a blessing and a script for D-ball. I mean, they're not. I'm glad you're laughing. They're looking, and that's why I still have a license, and I will always have a license, because this is an ethical means. I don't give a blessing on steroids. I don't condone steroids. Men, we're taking care of people across the world now, right? The transgender people. If someone is drug addicted, we take care of them. Someone's on opioids, someone is obese, they have diabetes, they smoke cigarettes, they drink. Don't we take care of those people?
Absolutely.
Why would we neglect men? And it's interesting. And men are quiet, and you'll see my movement moving forward with testosteronology. And I'm so humble that I have a following of men that trust me. And in the end, it's accessibility. Men need accessibility, because there are side effects, and men live and they die before women because they don't access medicine. It's true. Coronary artery disease, depression is worse for men. Suicide's much worse for men. This is all medical data, and men don't feel comfortable in the medical facility. It starts as a young pediatric and family medicine. The mama brings you in. And then once the mama's done, you're on your own, and you will not use medical services.
Dr. O'Connor, I got a question, because unlike some of those things you mentioned, like being transgender and stuff, if you are depressed or you're just lethargic all the time, most guys, I would think, aren't just pinpointing that down to lack of testosterone or them just being deficient on some sort of hormone. So how does someone know maybe I'm not just like in a funk? Maybe I should go get checked and see if that'd be an option for me.
What a great question. So if you look for men coming in and their chief complaint is malaise and fatigue, right? They don't feel well. Doctor, I don't feel well. I'm tired. I'm taking more naps. My erections aren't good. My libido is not good. I don't feel good. I'm tired. I'm gaining weight in my midsection. It's not just this is not an older guy. This is a 35 to a 45-year-old guy, maybe. And you're right. So, but in the same notion, when you're working up as an expert physician, malaise and fatigue, that's also not just low T. It's multifactorial. It can be low T. It can be, but you're not a number anymore. You're not a number on paper. So when you're working up a man for hypogonadism, it's very complicated, right? This is what I do. And my brothers and sisters that are endocrinologists and urologists, I mean, it's morphing. You're not just a number on paper. Hey, it says 250 to 1100 for total testosterone. I'm sorry, Frank, we can't treat you until you're 249.
See, that's what I think's crazy. So I'm on TRT, right? And everybody's body's different. Everybody's going to function different at a different level of testosterone. So that happened to me. I tested at like 3. My test was for me crazy low. I mean, I was tired all the time, fatigued all the time, no drive, no ambition, just fighting through the day on everything that I was doing. Went and got my testosterone tested, and it was down in like the 300s or something like that, low 300s. But my free T was like way low off the charts. So I ended up getting my TRT covered, but at first I didn't want to do it because they said, oh, well, you're still in the 300, which is in the regular range. Yeah. And the funny thing is that there's certain docs that even when they do put you on TRT, they don't want you up, above 800, where some guys function the best on maybe say 1,000. You know what I mean? Like every single body is different, but they have this number range. And I think I agree. I think it's ridiculous.
Well, so you guys know, you follow YouTube. See, everything I'm doing, I'm trying to do evidence-based as possible. I mean, we can't wing it. I'm a physician. I'm an internal medicine doctor. So I was built on evidence-based medicine. We have evidence for blood pressure, for cataracts, coronary artery disease, lipids. We have everything. Now, when it comes to testosterone, there really is an absence of guidelines. It's just true. So you look to the brothers of endocrinology and urology, and they have these are, again, they're morphing, they're changing. You're not a number on paper anymore. So we have to look at the number. But if you're 27 years old and your testosterone's 880 and you don't feel good or your sex is not good, that's not low testosterone. You have something else going on, sir. You see? So, but I agree with you. And again, I have to be careful, and I'm always careful. And I've been doing this for 15 years, and a lot of people follow me, and I'm very open. But when you see, I'm teaching doctors now, testosteronologists, it's a real specialty of internal medicine, because taking care of men on androgens is not just endocrinology or urology. It's a little bit of psychiatry. It's a little bit of cardiology. It's a little bit those red blood cells. That's called hematology. You see, this is a specialty of internal medicine, but it's, again, in my perspective, it's a man to a man. Women have women's health. We don't have this until me. This is the first time we've had this, that men have a legitimate physician. And again, I'm not anti-aging. I'm very much against anti-aging is a ridiculous term. You want to anti-age, gentlemen? Don't have a heart attack and cancer. Okay, how do you do that? Access medicine. Get colonoscopies, have access, treat blood pressure, cholesterol, sugar, look at family histories, get a calcium score, right? All my stuff, look at my stuff. Look at this, on my desk, I have all my stuff, the heart. I do an executive physical for each man. I'm limited now because I have a waiting list several weeks, and I'm training doctors, and I'm making an app online. You see me talk about this app. We're gonna have an app where every man is gonna have access to how I conduct my history just for men. And it's so personalized, but it's going to be digital because we've learned to do this now because of COVID, and we've exploded with telecommunications and telemedicine. Appropriate. It's that you have to get vital signs. You have to see a doctor, but this app is going to coordinate and have men interact with their health. And yes, most of these men initially are going to be on performance enhancing drugs and androgens. You know that. And it's very complicated now. I have 15-year-old boys coming to me that I can't touch because I only take 18 and above because I'm an adult expert. I'm an adult medical expert. I'm not a pediatric expert. And I have to coordinate. I have men coming in, boys coming in on SARMs, and they've destroyed their
really?
depression. So I can go on and on, gentlemen. I'm sorry. I don't want to launch off too much.
No, you're good. So one question I was thinking of is I am on TRT. Joel's been thinking about getting on TRT. Or testosterone. What is some advice that you would have for somebody thinking about maybe enhancing their testosterone?
You guys, this is a great question. So watch my videos on how I manage men and testosterone. And there's two aspects. There's diagnosis. So there's the two men. The man to the right, the younger, it looks like about a little younger, right? What's your name again? The natty man?
Joel.
Joel. So Joel's the natty man. And are you natty though? I mean,
yes,
maybe you don't,
as of right now, yep.
Maybe you don't want to answer that. So,
no,
he is.
So far, yeah. It's always been, so that's why I'm glad to have you here, is because it's always been that little tickle in the back of my mind. I feel like I've probably hit my genetic potential and have been hovering somewhere around it for a few years now. So it's like, all right.
How old are you?
32 now.
So young man. So
He's actually older than me.
Just look younger.
31.
Okay, he's got the baby face. But you got the hat on.
Yeah, I do.
You
Yep.
got good hair under that. I see the hair peeping out on there. You got
That's
good hair
right.
though. So here's the deal. A man that wants to consider and be diagnosed with hypogonadism. So so many young men come in. So doctors can't discriminate. But so it starts off with a chief complaint in the history of present illness. How do you feel? How's your sex? That's the most important question. How's your sex drive? How's your sexual function? How's your libido? How are your erections? This is a man thing. And this is internal medicine. Nitric oxide, coronary disease, depression, hypercalcemia.
What if it's decent though, but it's not like when you were 18 and you want to be optimal like when you were 18?
So listen, and I said hypercalcemia, I mean also in addition, hyperlipidemia. These are labs. Hyperglycemia, pre-diabetes. You guys look really healthy. I'll look at Joel and I'll bet you Joel's labs are going to look excellent. I don't know what his family history is for lipids. Taking the history is so important. Joel, you need to get a history done, regardless if you're going to be on testosterone or androgens, regardless. You need to know, you'll see the app. It's all going to be for free. The skeleton, the detailed history that I'm walking men through with artificial intelligence, with snippet videos. Wait till you see what we're producing. Been working on it for a long time. It's going to be outrageous. Anabolic Doc is the name of the app.
Nice.
So we're coming out. So listen, Joel, you're a young man. You haven't crossed that line. Okay. I don't discriminate on men. There's 20 million men in the country or more that are on PEDs. 20 million. The numbers are just outrageous. So you need to think what I would present to you. What do you want to do? What are you doing? You don't need a doctor. These men tell me they're doing it all on the streets. That's wrong. Now, you haven't done anything. So it's interesting.
He wants to get Hulk.
I don't look like this guy.
Yeah, right.
We're men. And I'm 56 years old pretty soon.
Yeah, there you go, Doc.
And I benched 505 at 198, gentlemen. I had a
nice.
shirt.
Wow. Holy shit.
Don't hate the shirt.
That's 100 pounds more than I can bench.
Look, I'm like a raw 400-pound guy, but you know what, though? I did it in competition, 505, and I had a shirt. You put any shirt you can and try taking that down to your chest.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
That shirt, by the way, was made personally by Gene Richlak's wife. God bless her. God rest her. You know Gene Richlak, right?
I know of. Yeah, I know of.
So I took care of these. I've been so humbled to say that these men have trusted me with their health. Men that came to me 15 years ago, 10 years ago as the Anabolic Doc, these are badass men. These are the biggest, strongest, strong men and powerlifters in the world. Now I got all the goddamn prima donnas in the world. I'm just kidding. Let's keep going.
So besides downloading your app, say someone's waking up, erections are like 70%. They're
I love how you put a percentage on erection.
Well, it's not 100 like you said at 18, but you're not
like an 18-year-old hard on. It's like a 30-year-old hard on.
You're married, so you don't really know if your libido's low or not. You're just like, whatever.
You asked a question, and I'm notorious for avoiding it. So let's focus in here, Joel. Is this going to be an on live about Joel? Let's go.
No, this is my friend Cole. No, I'm just playing. Like Tyler's saying, it's not optimal, it's not bad, but it's somewhere in the middle. It could be better.
Listen to this. This is why it's such an art. It's not this number, but let's be honest. You're a 32-year-old young man. If this young man, it's not you anymore. Say it's Cole. It's the relative. It's the cousin named Cole, but he's a fourth cousin, so he's basically a brother of mine. Okay, so he hasn't done steroids. At your age, you're not going to have low T on paper. You're just not. Okay. So
you had to test him once, and it was in the 300s.
Yeah, it was in the low 300s a few years ago.
Let's go into the data, guys. Let's go. So total testosterone is right nanograms per deciliter. The range is 250 to 1100. We're not going to get into the data and the arguments and the academics. It's a rate. Doc, who the hell's 250? Who doesn't want to be 1100? Okay, who's 1100? I mean, is that the 16, 17-year-old kid who's masturbating 6 times a day in the shower? I mean, come on, guys.
Exactly.
This data is old, and there's no outcome studies. That's why you have these testosterone anti-aging places that are horrible, because they'll give you whatever the hell you want, Joel, or Cole. They'll give him, and they're not going to care.
All right, I got a good question to go around it.
If the guy, why I try to reverse everything I can to not give you testosterone first, and then I'm honest, and you sit in these chairs. Look at this place. You see those chairs?
Yep.
Okay. Yes, sir.
This is the office in Connecticut. It's a gorgeous place. I'm going to do a video showing the office today. Listen to this. And I have a place in Florida. And now this is my office. You're in my office. Welcome to my office. So I talk to men one-on-one, confidential. Brother, talk to me. What's going on? What have you done? What have you done? How do you feel, man? What can I do for you? What's really troubling you? Where would you like to go with this? That's where it starts. See that, Cole? Tell Cole that. That's where it starts.
So say a guy just wants to get bigger, though. Say a guy wants to get on some tests to get bigger. Is there a way to do, I guess a better question would be, is TRT safe? Say a guy is ready to get on TRT.
TRT is safe, absolutely safe. But the better question, gentlemen, is do you need it? Because when you start TRT, here's the biggest risk there is. Forget the hair, the gynecomastia, the acne, the mood, the overdriving sex, the roid rage, the heart, and the prostate. Forget it. That's what I cover. I'm an expert physician. That's my job. That's my management hat. My first hat is diagnosis. Do you need it? Most guys, 20 young guys who start steroids, do they need TRT? The answer is no, they don't, but they love it. Let's just get right down to the grit. And I've been on testosterone, gentlemen, for over 25 years. Let's just be honest. So what do? I put all my resources into aggressive mitigation of risk. My cholesterol, my LDL is 38. My blood pressure is 110/70.
That's good.
My hemoglobin A1C is 5.1. This is all going to come out on the Uncensored app. We're going to have a show like you guys have a show called Man to Man. And I'm doing
so how do you do TRT and keep all your levels good like that?
You better believe it. I've been on for 25, and I did steroids, brothers. I did steroids. Hell yeah. I didn't start off on steroids because I'm a 55-year-old man. I used to train back in the 80s with the big boys. And then I was about 200, probably 230, eating sticks of butter and taking 10,000 calories a day in. with a Jewish afro and suspenders on and work shorts. And I trained with dead birds. We trained with dead birds. Yeah, buddy, upstate New York, Hercules Health Club. Check out Hercules Health Club, Syracuse, New York. That's where I bit my teeth. And I was tapped on the shoulder after about 2 years. And you know what that means?
No, I don't.
Someone's selling you some juice.
Oh, yeah.
They said, brother, they said, this is back in the 80s. I'm getting goosebumps right now. This is back in the 80s. This is Dads Who Lift, right? So
that's right.
This is how the Anabolic Doc started. So I wasn't a doctor. I was some shit kid, college kid up at Syracuse, New York back in the 80s. And then I was strong as shit, though, naturally. I benched 315 before I left high school smoking cigarettes. I weighed 158 pounds. I don't know what I weighed. Cigarette smoking. We had smoking areas back in 1970s. I was smoking cigarettes in high school because I was a kick around kid.
How was your first experience with the steroids, Dr. O'Connor? I'm curious about that.
I first started off training in my early 20s. So much against steroids that I would be front squatting 315 or more, multiple reps, right to the ground, yelling and screaming at juice fags and puss. Remember, I'm a New York City. I'm an Irish Jew from New York City, so I'm an aggressive man. Okay, so I would be front squatting, spitting, bleeding. We had dead birds training, smelling the dead bird. The bird would have to watch us train. The bird would tell us how many reps to do. Okay, I got really strong, and I was against it. I used to announce, I'm doing a set right now for all you juice monkeys. It's what I did. And then
you joined them.
A hypocrite. I got Anavar and Winstrol, and I went to Europe. And I trained with some of the biggest bodybuilders in Holland, Barry DeMay and another guy named Jeroen. These are 6'2", 290. These are big. For the first time, I met a professional bodybuilder named Jeff King in America. And I trained with, remember Jeff King? Remember this?
I don't.
Jeff King's jacked to the gills. I don't know how he's doing now.
So your first cycle was Anavar and Winstrol?
Anavar and Winstrol,
So those are cutters, right? I mean, that's a cutting cycle.
Doc, guys, I was 23 years old, and I was terrified. My balls were quivering. This is a man show. My balls were quivering. I had achy testicles because I'm a hypochondriac. That's why I became a physician. And that's why my LDL, I cannot have a heart attack. It's physiologically impossible. And I make it that way with my physicians and the medicines I take. And we're not going to go into that today, but that's going to be on my show, Man to Man. I'm going to expose everything, and I'm giving it to you guys. Men, if you're on steroids, if you're on testosterone, you need it. I'm not going to go into the dialogue of don't do it. Remember Nancy Reagan, don't just say no? It doesn't work. I like Reagan. I'm a big fan of Reagan. Okay, so the reality is we're beyond just say no. I need to protect you, men, from what you're doing to yourself. And I'm not disparaging you. It's the truth. Men do not access medicine easily. Men don't want medicine, but you young guys want medicine, but now it's inaccessible. So I'm giving it to you digitally. I can't take the pain. I'm training testosteronologists, but you have to be a hard-nosed, board-certified internist, not a nurse practitioner. I'm not a politically correct guy. I don't care. My patients appreciate that. I'm a board-certified doctor, and I'm bought and paid for. I've been doing this since my 20s. Okay, medicine. I have graduate degrees in physiology, exercise physiology. I was on a PhD fellowship. I dropped out when I was 30 to be a doctor, and I've never looked back.
I appreciate that, Doc, and I appreciate everything you're doing for the industry and bringing this kind of awareness to steroid use and actually treating people the way that they should be treated.
Correct.
I have a few questions. So I put a post up on our group yesterday. We have a Dads Who Lift group full of 30,000 dads that are like-minded individuals that try to be their best selves, and they're also dads and they lift. And I just asked people if they have any questions for you. We got quite a few questions, so if you don't mind, I'd like to run through a few of those.
Let's rock on.
Okay, cool. So the first one says, is it safe for a type 1 diabetic? And so these are guys that are just, they're basically, they're going to do a cycle to get bigger, right? They don't care if their test is low. They want to be bigger. So he asks, is it safe for a type 1 diabetic to do a cycle? I have been doing research, but most of it says no. But I know there's a couple that I've seen definitely on steroids. I want to know how they do it with all the side effects, and if there are some safer than others for people like me. I'm worried about my diabetes. It's the only reason I haven't started a cycle. So can a type 1 diabetic run a cycle of any kind?
Okay, so I'm going to take, this is a question that no one can answer. There's no answer to that question because steroids inherently are not inherently safe. Let's talk about steroids. Again, testosterone. He's going to run testosterone. Maybe he's going to do Anavar, maybe Winstrol like me.
Why does a diabetic, though, I don't even know this. I'm not diabetic, obviously, but a type 1 diabetic, why would it be more damaging or hurtful to them?
Let's get right into it. Thank you for focusing me in. Okay. So the inherent risks, type 1 diabetic versus type 2. He's been on insulin since probably a boy, a young man, a 7 to 11. Okay. He's on insulin. He's not a type 2 diabetic like Americans. When they get older and heavier, they go through metformin.
Got it.
Drugs, and they get, hey, John, hey, Linda, cut the carbs, start exercising. Here's metformin. Here's another drug. Here's another. Now they're on insulin. They're in their 60s and 70s. They're type 2 diabetic. This is a young man who knows he's diagnosing, he's diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. That means that he requires insulin for life. Let's start right off. What are the risks of diabetics? Coronary artery disease, micro and macro vascular disease, disease that comes secondary to hyperglycemia, having a non-optimal hemoglobin A1C. This man knows the ABCs. Remember, I'm a primary care doctor. A, hemoglobin A1C. B, blood pressure. C, cholesterol. Let's talk about it. He's going to do steroids against my advice. I never can give advice to do steroids. I can't. I don't.
So it's going to up his blood pressure. It's going to thicken his blood.
Correct. Now, hold on. But doc, I'm going to do it for 6 weeks and my blood pressure is not going to get affected because I'm going to use some Masteron and I'm going to use a little baby dose of test. And we're going to, okay, I'm teaching doctors. You have to understand the drugs. It's really complicated. That's why my website, my Anabolic Doc, I've run through professionally every single steroid in the world. Right, guys?
Yeah, no, you have.
Steroids. So now I'm doing other things. I'm doing combinations. I mean, literally. And I'm giving the message, the real message, right, of love and caring to men that are doing this. He's going to do it against my advice or anyone's advice. And because he's not a criminal. He wants to get big and strong. It's an awesome feeling. Okay. He doesn't need steroids. He's beyond all that. I hope he doesn't.
Say he does do it. What can he do to make it safer? Run blood thinners?
Be careful. Be careful because steroids, and let's go into the scientific stuff. I know you guys want to hear it. Androgens, okay, testosterone derived, DHT derived, NOR19 derived. You guys want to go? Let's go. So the class of 40 steroids, 40 that are out there available to be used, all from the black market. Forget other PEDs. Okay, clenbuterol. He's on insulin already, so he's not using the PED. He's using that to continue to live. Okay, medical necessity. So this man, if he takes steroids, depending on his diet and his training, it's going to affect his glucose levels, guys. He's going to know that. Are anabolic steroids testosterone contraindicated for a type 1 or type 2 diabetic that's on insulin? The answer is no. No, of course not.
Yeah, so I'd say don't do it, dude.
Number 2, he's going to have to look at his blood pressure. Now, none of this, if he's young, God forbid, blood pressure goes up. Bodies are strong. They take it. It's not a good thing. It's a real thing. People are hypertensive for years and years and years. The damage comes over. It's It's a cumulative damage on your left ventricle, your coronary artery, your cerebral vascular arteries, heart attack and stroke, right, guys? Number one cause of death in America is coronary artery disease. It's America, so it's been put it on steroids. If he does it for 6 weeks, what's going to happen? Probably nothing. Look, he does the first cycle. He feels great. What's going to happen?
That's a problem, though. You don't ever just do one. You don't ever just do it for 6 weeks.
Let's be honest. He's going to come back to the trough.
Work the first time. Why not the second?
Post-cycle therapy doesn't work. He's going to end up being on testosterone for life. Let's be honest.
That's actually one of the questions, actually, is what is the best PCT and safest way to come off a cycle?
Guys,
any cycle.
I'm publishing 2 big journal papers. I've written over 500 articles since I've been the Anabolic Doc in 2009. Okay. There is no safe. There's no safe. You either are on testosterone or you're not. You, sir, are on testosterone. And, you know, it's interesting. Look at you two. I'm looking at these 2 men, and you're clearly more, you know, thicker. You're more muscled. You're on androgens. You had low levels. You're on it. I assume you feel great.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I feel like $1 million.
Guys, I'm not here to sell testosterone. Believe me, I'm here to give warning, but I'm not playing games. I don't play games. We're men. Men love to feel good, confident, strong. We come to this world on testosterone. It's interesting that men like to take some more testosterone and they get hornier. They feel better. But you know what? It's not all. Men can go into worse mania and anxiety, depression. You agree with that, guys, right? This is real. Taking testosterone it's going to affect the guys. Forget the hair and the gynecomastia and all this kind of bullshit, acne. How about his brain? If he starts testosterone and steroids, and that goes for Cole. This goes for Cole.
I'll tell him. I'll relay the message.
Cole, let him know. When you see Cole, let him know the Anabolic Doc said, if you start, brother, you may never get off. And I'm not Debbie Downer. If you understand that's the truth, there's the man to the left. Have Cole talk to the man to the left. It is what it is, Doc. I love it. I'm on it. Great. Then once you're on it, protect yourself. And that's why I'm here. I'm an expert internist. I call it testosteronology because it involves multiple disciplines of internal medicine. I said them: cardiology, hematology, prostate. You have to be, once you're on and you're protected, I hug you and I protect you as I know best. And I have to coordinate care with other physicians. I use academic, board certified physicians all over the country for cardiology, hematology, endocrinology. I do a history. I can't work alone. I work with primary care doctors. And anyway, you ready for this? The man is the boss. The patient is the boss. Let's give the power back to the patient. This is ridiculous what's happened in this country. Medicine has crashed. You're the boss. I am at your service. We're servants.
Dr. O'Connor, I got a question for you. Besides working directly with you or a professional, downloading your app, watching your YouTube channel, obviously, what are some practical things someone can do to mitigate some of the risks you're talking about? Gynecomastia, hair loss, everything you've said.
Okay. So let me tell you when a man comes in front of me and he's a virgin to androgens, except for his own androgens from his testicle. Here, you ready for what I do? I first tell him, I say, I do my history. I do my particular history. It's an executive physical on each man. And then I say, okay, now we've discovered your medical issues. Maybe he has early family history of heart disease because the dad had a bypass or a heart attack in his 50s or under 60. Maybe he has some other issues in his family history for elevated red blood cell. It's called hereditary hemochromatosis. You got to get a good history. Maybe he's hypertensive. He has bad cholesterol. No one's perfect. No one. So I do the history first. So basically, I do a history. I do a physical. And then I say, okay, sir, let's go over all the risks of what testosterone will do to you. You ready for this? Are you ready?
Ready.
Head to toe, gentlemen. Hair loss. We're not going to play the game of using dutasteride and or finasteride. Anti-aging doctors I'm going to wipe them out. Anti-aging, using a drug for a drug for a drug to a traditional doctor is called polypharmacy. I'm not here for politics. It's wrong.
So you don't think there's anything you can do to stop the side effects? Once you get on it, you're going to have the side effects regardless.
You're going to take testosterone. There'll be some hair loss if you have male pattern balding, and it's all crystal ball stuff. Don't use much. If you're going to use Tren, you just get a lawnmower and just lawn mow your hair off, because you're going to lose. I mean, we're talking Tren. Okay, let's keep going, guys. So hair loss. And what can you do? Don't do testosterone. Come on, guys. This is easy stuff.
I want to ask about Tren, actually, though, because you brought Tren up.
I'm sorry. You asked a question. Let me go ahead and hair loss. What can you do? Don't do testosterone. If your hair is that valuable to you, if your testosterone is otherwise okay, don't do it. Next, if you want to use finasteride, you could try that. You understand that, gentlemen? You understand finasteride and dutasteride?
I don't know what those are.
No.
Okay. I just for the sake of today, it's going to go on. Are there blockers where you can block DHT from the supplemental androgen? We're playing polypharmacy game. You can. I don't like to do it. And most men, I've experienced about 10,000 men, right? Because I've been doing this for almost 20 years as a physician. So from the top to the bottom of men, right? World famous athletes to the regular guy. And I love the regular guy. This is my regular guy now today. I can't stand the prima donnas. Okay. So hair loss, suck it up, buttercup. Don't do it. Okay. Next, acne. Okay. Look at your estrogen levels, DHT levels. There's no data for it. Let's keep going. Acne, hair loss, keep the doses down. Micro dose. I'm giving it to you guys for the estrogenic side effects. Puffiness, estrogenicity. It's man per man. You're using testosterone-derived esters. Now you better understand, the physician better understand the physiology and the pathophysiology, right, gentlemen? This is not bro science. This is real doctors. And my endocrinology brothers and sisters, they're better at diabetes. They don't understand what Winstrol, Masteron, Decaturable, and NPP, but they're going to learn, because the new age guys are coming under my fellowship. Let's keep moving. If you go underneath the chin, heart disease, gentlemen, there's only two things that matter when you're on testosterone. I do this every day, your heart and your prostate. I'm not saying the hair doesn't matter. It ain't going to kill you. The acne ain't going to kill you. But Jesus Christ, if you have horrible cystic acne as a kid, you're gonna suffer on testosterone, gentlemen. And can you take Accutane with it? You better be careful with Accutane if you're on oral steroids, because what's the risk? Jump to the risk.
I don't know.
Liver. Your transaminases are going to go through the roof. You can get serious liver disease. I've seen it. Gentlemen, I've seen everything. Okay, let's keep. Are you humble? You guys have to be humble for this.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I'm sorry to get crazy on you, but I do fall apart. I get to my craziness because I love this. This is what I breathe. I live, sleep, eat, and shit this stuff. And this is a man show. So I don't have to be politically correct. I don't have to, right? I don't have to be correct.
No, you're good, and I appreciate it. Another question that we have is a guy is actually asking about micro dosing. So he says that this is just what his comment is. He says the data suggests that shorter blasts of 6 to 8 weeks is better than standard bodybuilding cycles of 12 to 16 weeks. Data suggests that after the 6 week mark, you've basically gotten almost all the gains you're going to get. And any gains after that point is going to be trivial compared to the damage that's caused by blasting for 12 to 16 weeks. Is there any merit to this? Also, instead of stopping at the 6 to 8 week mark, if you slowly increase doses, say every 3 weeks, would this negate the diminishing returns after the 6 to 8 week mark?
Okay, so I never want to put anyone down. So there's no data for that at all. I don't know where that guy's coming up with that. That's interesting. Let's talk about what real power.
What is the deal with microdosing, though? Because I've heard a lot of people talk about that.
That's not what you're talking about there. That's not microdosing. Microdosing is when you're on TRT.
Okay.
And you don't take a big dose every 2 weeks. Good physicians in this country are notorious for giving 1 cc of testosterone cypionate in your ass in the office every 2 weeks to a month. That's not how it should be done. Microdosing is what it sounds like. It's giving small doses this is how I give it to men, depending on the man, more frequently. So it doesn't go like this, right? So the levels don't go like this up and down. So that's, in my mind, that's microdosing for TRT.
Yeah, when I started TRT, it was once a week in the doctor's office.
Okay, once a week is not bad. I take 0.6 milliliters to cypionate 200 milligrams per mil. I take 0.6 every 5 to 6 days, because after 25 years, you're going to get bored. You're going to be like, when was my dose? When did I do
Right.
that? And I don't feel the difference. I actually feel towards the low point, my libido goes kind of better. It's really, I'm amazed with men. I'm amazed with our brains. And again, so the microdosing, he's talking about microdosing relative to anabolic steroid cycle. Interesting. And again, I'm gonna be careful here. There's no data. There's no scientific. He may be looking at a study or a case study, or that's very interesting. I know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay, I don't know either. But here's the deal. Let's talk about the top powerlifters in the world that I take care of. Some of these, no names, man. Let me tell you what they do. They blast and cruise. Do you guys know what blast and cruise means?
Yep.
Okay. No one's doing that 6 week anymore. I'm sorry. And if you are, God bless you. Less is more. Again, in the end of the day, this is a show of honesty. And is there a peak at 6 weeks or 8 weeks with a steroid cycle? And then, are you kidding me? These men are taking so much drugs. It goes on for 14 weeks. I understand look, and if you're doing the 6 week piece and you're doing a little teeny bit of steroids relative to the guys that are doing a gram of test and trend, and you're doing D-bol and Anadrol, let's be honest, guys. This is a show of honesty, right? Let's be honest about what's really happening. And these young boys, these young men are doing outrageous drugs, and they're starting drugs before they even train. The days of, again, I'm an old man. Remember, I'm like the old man guy.
No, I see it. There's like teenagers now that are bigger than me. I mean, it's fucking crazy. It's insane.
And we are Americans, and we're proud to be Americans. We're big, we're strong, we're fast. And it's a disease for us. Let's be honest about it. I have a disease. I have bigorexia. I mean, I'm sitting here at near 60 years old, and I still have to be walking around going like this.
Right.
What's wrong with me, Mom? What's wrong with me, Ma? I still want to bench. I tore the pec off my bone. Last night I was repping out with 275. I'm going to come back to bench in the mid-4s. I'm going to bench in the mid-4s, and I'm 195 pounds. So I love power. I love strength. I can't get enough of it, but I got to be careful. And again, the microdosing, to answer that question. So microdosing absolutely is a beautiful thing. Once you're on TRT, you want to take just a small dose. You want to take the lowest dose you can to get the job done. And you don't want to have it go up and down, because you'll feel it. You'll feel like crap.
Yeah. So when you microdose, you're dosing more often, smaller doses, but more often. That way you're getting rid of the peaks and valleys.
Correct. And why men do it, and if you look from my videos and my comments, why we've been talking about this is because we're limiting the side effects. What are the side effects? Let's be honest and straight for the show. Aromatization. Men want that estrogen in check. I disagree with polypharmacy and aromatase inhibitors. Cole, you can tell us to Cole, because Cole, you got to be careful, Cole. You don't know what the stuff is. You're going to go into what you're heading into.
You disagree with like inostrozole and estrogen blockers?
Horrible. It's a horrible, dangerous drug. I'm not saying I don't use it, but I try not to use it, and I keep it to a down low. It affects the endothelial heart. It affects the tissue. It affects your brain. Most men feel great on a proper regimen of testosterone. It's like I'm sitting here high right now.
What happens if you have? So what actually happens if you have super high estrogen or super low estrogen?
First of all, these are questions academically that we really don't fully understand. So the side effects of having super physiologic estradiol, that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
Super physiologic estradiol.
Which that would be high?
Super physiologic means over the physiologic rate.
Yep.
So over the reference range. Okay. So on paper. So, and again, there's no data. I'm into the world of this. I've been in the world of zero data for years. What do? I stay close to the bone. I keep things evidence-based. I don't harm people. If we don't know something, I say, sir, we don't know.
From what you see, though, you have experience in it. You see what happens to guys when it's high.
Let's talk about high estrogen levels that are from estrogenic androgens.
I mean, I know you can get lactating nipples and sensitive nipples, and I'm pretty sure you get more emotional.
Let's talk from the head to toe, and I'll stay focused. Okay, it affects the brain. Men like to have typically an androgen to estrogen ratio that is in excess and exceeding and in the positive direction of androgen, not estrogen. Correct? Our brains feel, we focus better. We're hornier, supposedly. We care and we're empathetic, but we're not weepy. And I'm not kidding. I've had guys stop testosterone and complain. Phone call comes in. Dr. O'Connor, Frank's on the phone. Okay, hey, Frank, how you doing, man? Doctor, I feel I'm complaining. I have a complaint. I'm too estrogenic. What do you mean? Oh, God, I can't tell a story without crying. That's amazing. I'm amazed at this. So measure your estrogen. I measure the estrogen. Wow, it's high. Well, what should we do? Take anastrozole? Maybe lower the dose. Maybe both. Maybe neither. Okay. It affects your brain. It affects your nipples. Gynecomastia is the proliferation of the glandular tissue just around the nipple. We have a little bit of the breast of a woman. It's amazing. I'm humble for God. I'm a God-fearing man. I'm humble. I don't know why that is. And if you take androgens, you get estrogens. Wow. And if you get too much and you're out of balance, you can get gynecomastia, sensational, which is it burns versus the mass. And is that mass cancer? 99% of breast cancer is women. 1% of breast cancer is men. I've never, thank the grace of God, I've never, ever seen one case of breast cancer on a steroid user. And I've seen over 5,000. Why is that? We don't really understand why. I assume the androgen overplay. Remember, if you have estrogen, it's coming from androgen. Your androgen levels are going to be higher regardless of your high estrogen. So most men on test and D-ball say, how do you feel, brother? This is 15 years ago. How's your sex drive? Your estrogen's high. It must not be good. Doc, I could screw your desk right now. Leave my desk alone, sir.
What happens if it's too low?
That was an NHL player. That was 10 years ago. That was a legitimate NHL player, 28-year-old man, no names mentioned. And he was looking to me help him out. And he was on and off test and D-ball. He was a beast. This is a beast. And, 6'2", 240. I mean, they're big, right?
Yeah.
And he wasn't getting drug tested. We're not going to say what team he was on. And he came to me very far away. He drove to see me. I'm humble because he came to see the Anabolic Doc. And I said, well, how's his labs? His labs looked like he was on testosterone esters and estrogen was up. And I said, how did your sex? I guess I could help you. This is before I really knew anything. And I still feel like I know nothing. Stay humble. Stay humble. We don't know everything, and I still don't know anything, I feel sometimes. So I said, how's your sex drive? I guess I can help you. If your sex is bad, I can wean you off with esters and I can help you. And not to mention his blood pressure and his heart, and he's so young, he didn't care, right? And I'm trying to bring attention to that. And he said, doctor, I could F your desk. And in that moment, I realized this whole estrogen thing, I just don't get it. Every man's different. So there's your answer. It can cause acne. It can cause the brain.
Now, if estrogen's too low, though, correct me if I'm wrong, it can actually it can actually hinder the performance of the test, like having high testosterone, right? Like muscle build.
So when you use too much of these drugs, and it's easy to do with anastrozole, many guys come into me from anti-aging places and they have no estrogen. It says less than the reference range. That means they're sterilized. How do those men feel? Flat. This is a great question. Flat. Doctor, I feel flat. Tendon ruptures. You need estrogen. That's part of the whole DECA and the NPP and the lubricating of the joints. There's some lubrication and you need estrogen. Look at big beastie powerlifters. They got a lot of estrogen. They're on test and Anadrol. I'm just telling you, and forget Anadrol. It's not estrogenic. Bullshit it isn't. When you're on all that testosterone, you are estrogenic. But they're strong as hell and they feel great. We don't understand it. It affects the HDL. When you tank your estrogen, it's damaging to the heart. This is why this is so complicated. I have to check every man. This is what they're paid for.
How often do you check blood work on your guys that run cycles?
That's all I do.
How often though do you check blood for them?
So here's the blood work. You guys, so the guys looking to do steroids and testosterone, it starts off with a history and physical. I apologize that I'm the only doctor in the country on this level that's a real internist and experienced with androgens, and I don't have hatred to I love these men. I mean, when the first famous powerlifters came to me, that I had pictures of them in my gym when I was a kid, no names mentioned, and strong men, I said, I'm a kid in the candy shop. I'm going to protect these men, and I do. It's what I do. No laws being broken. I protect their hearts.
Absolutely.
I learned how to manipulate with other drugs that are cardiac drugs, blood pressure drugs. I had a guy call me from the Midwest, no names mentioned. He said, "Doc, I'm treating his blood pressure." This is 10 years ago. He was standing up with 900 pounds. Thank God he was in the monolift. And he fell back. He got dizzy and he was pissed off at me. And he said, "Doc, how do we do it?" So we put our heads together and we said, let's not take the blood pressure medicine the day you're squatting heavy. Let's take it after. Yes, after. So he goes into the training night. His blood pressure is like 140 over 85 or something, maybe 90.
A little high.
Little high, best we can do. And then after you train, you're having your beer. I hope not Skull, because I think somebody's got, he bellies up to the bar and he has his protein drink. He takes his blood pressure medicines then. He got home and he took a blood pressure log around 10 o'clock at night. He said, "Doc, I went to bed. Blood pressure is 110 over 78. I woke up 110 over 78. We did it." He's still
nice.
A patient. He ain't squatting 900 pounds. And he did it. I got him through. I protected his heart.
Is it blood like every 6 weeks then? 12 weeks?
No, man. You have a fingerprint. I'm not a cookie cutter. Anti-aging guys are the cookie cutters. I typically do blood work on my men every 4 to 6 months. It's man per man.
Yep.
I may, if I don't like something, I may check blood next week. Hey, Frank,
case by case basis.
Case by case. And I work with primary care doctors. And now that there's really no doctors anymore in America, God damn it, I have to work with nurses and APRNs and mid-level practitioners. And you know what? That's okay. It is what it is. I become the manager. And anyone who doesn't want to work with us gets fired.
That's awesome that you have that power, that freedom, really. But hey, couple more questions. Couple that I just have to ask before we get off here. I know the guys in the group are going to shoot me. What is, in your opinion, this is a 2-part question, basically. What's the best cycle to run for bulking, and what's the best cycle to run for cutting that you see guys run, in your opinion?
To those, you could see that I have that in my videos, though.
Okay.
It would be unethical for me to answer.
Gotcha. What about one other question then? What's the difference in SARMs and like the new SARMs that are out versus, your Anabol, your D-ball?
Ligandrol, SARMs, we don't want Osterin, Ligandrol, Rad 140. I see those 3 videos. See the video. We don't know.
Yeah, but some of the guys in our group haven't. They're going to watch this and want us to ask these questions and get some answers from you instead of watching a video.
Receptor modulator. They're about 15 years old. They're theoretically selective. So you're going to get muscle, skeletal growth and strength, and we're not going to get any side effects. Phooey. They're horrible. Guys are recommending, this is not me, but guys say just take test and Anavar or some D-ball or some. They're actually better for. I can't adjust. I can't agree with that. But SARMs, we don't know. SARMs are this hope. It's hope. It's hope. SARMs are, and you're buying it from some online peptide place, and it says for lab rat. It's for your lab rat. It's not for human consumption. So SARMs are just this non-medical agents that we don't know what they are. But I can tell you, I have 15-year-old boys and 18-year-old men coming in here that have devastated, and they have anabolic steroid-induced hypogonadism because they're completely shut off as if they did real steroids. Please, guys, be careful. Don't do any of this. If you're not ready to be on testosterone and even take risks with your health, don't do any of this. If you do it, though, I'll still love you. I just telling you the truth.
No, we appreciate it. And that's what I've heard too, is that SARMs, people say that they're safer than steroids, but there's just not any studies about SARMs out there. Nobody really knows what SARMs are.
No, not my life. Not the Anabolic Doc sees it every day. I've been seeing SARMs for 10 years. Powerlifters, hey doc, I'm on testosterone, I'm blasting and cruising. Instead of running Anadrol, D-Bol, or Anavar, I'm going to try this SARM. Let's see how my liver and my lipids look. We did these are experiments that the patients did against my advice. And lo and behold, we were amazed to see this man, and I still a patient. He's a dear man. He's a military man. He's a great man. And I was amazed to see that his liver enzymes went up like he was on D-Bol, Anavar, a lot of Anavar, and Winstrol. And I was like, wow, sir, we don't even know what's happening. Doc, I'm either not going to do any of this stuff anymore, or I'm just going to go back and run some Anavar with my testosterone when I want to compete next. I don't know. I'm just trying to I don't know. No one knows. But they're not safe alternatives. No.
I like it. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, Doc. It's definitely been a wealth of knowledge, and I love your no bullshit type of approach to all this stuff. I think the guys that watch this will really get a lot out of it. So, guys, if you enjoyed this podcast, please give us a like, share. We do this stuff for free. We really need your support. Please subscribe to the YouTube. Give us a 5-star review. We really appreciate it. We're on all the platforms for the podcast. We're on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, all that stuff. All the forms of the podcast are on our website, www.dads2liftofficial.com. We also have apparel on the website as well. We're on IG as Dads Who Lift Official. We are on Facebook as Dads Who Lift Podcast, and we have a Facebook group called Dads Who Lift Official. This is a Facebook group full of 30,000 like-minded guys that are dads that are just trying to be their best selves, stay fit, and lift at the same time. So if that's something that interests you, please check that out. But again, like I said, guys, we do this stuff for free. We need your support, so please give us a like, share, 5-star review. Doc, where can everybody find you at?
So I have a couple of different website, URLs. So testosteronology and anabolicdoc.com. So it's very easy to remember, anabolicdoc.com. And gentlemen, I do launch off and get crazy, and I do apologize. I don't want to offend anyone. And, I just can't, it's hard to hold myself down. And that's what made me a great lifter, right? With the ammonia and all that stuff. And,
hey, no apology necessary. You are passionate about this, and that's what makes you such a good doc and so good at what you do. So,
and I want to go forward. We're going to have this app. It's going to be on anabolicdoc.com. And if you go to anabolicdoc.com today, it's going to go to my anabolic recovery page, which is where I ethically take care of men that are on steroids. I've been doing this for more than 10 years. And I'm in Connecticut and I'm in Florida, but we're virtual. And I guys do consults. I do 3 consults a day. I'm late for one right now. I don't want to piss the guy off. So, but the trust, gentlemen, it's trust. We're dads, and I'm lifting last night with my 14-year-old son, and he benched 80 pounds for a triple.
Nice. That's what it's all about right there.
Yeah. And, and I love it. And he's my lift off man, because I couldn't train with my big buddy, because he's injured and he's busy. He's a NASCAR guy. And Hoosier Tires guy. He sells the Hoosier Tires.
Nice.
Here, Robbie Summers out here. It's one of my best friends in the world. Check out NASCAR. racer, Rob Summers, badass guy up here in the Northeast. And so I'm training with my son, and he lifted off 275. I did a few reps. I had the uprights up. I have the Forza bench, right? And I had the uprights up, and I said 1, 2, and he pulled lift out, like I would imagine, like the heavy lift off, the man days. And he lifted off, and he was nervous, but it's okay because the uprights were up. I had the safety uprights up, and he was just his eyes. And it's like, I'm coming back from my pec tear and stuff, and in 275, and his eyes lit up, and how important is that? My son, I'm training with my son, and of course I don't want him ever to do steroids. I don't want him ever to, and he hears me, he knows his dad's the Anabolic Doc, and he's looking at it for what it is, and I want it to be open. If you young men can understand what may happen, it is incredible, it's powerful, but there are side effects. There's no free lunch. There's no free lunch. So, but if we make decisions, don't do it. Really, I'm not playing a game. I don't want to be a hypocrite. For me, I will tell more about the tribulations of my life and the problems I've had because of it. Right? Nothing's for free. So in the end, when you make a decision and you do it, then you make sure you're as safe as possible. And that's what I want to provide for men. But I want to make men aware of, consider the implications that if you start to stop steroids, you're going to shut down your production, and you're going to love it so much that you're never going to be off, ever. And that's my closing words. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Awesome, Doc. Well, thank you very much for coming on again. Like I said, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Thank you very much. You have a great day.
Thank you, gentlemen. I really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Stay strong. Thank you.
Absolutely.
It's like forever, no surrender. It's forever, this like forever.
I ain't bigger dead than alive, bigger dead than alive. I ain't bigger dead than alive, dead than alive. Yeah, I ain't bigger dead than alive, bigger dead than alive.